The road to WrestleMania begins now. What's going on, people? What's really good? It's your boy Marv, and this is the Nerds in the Hood. Folks, I'm coming to you live, recording live. I'm recording. It's 1 o'clock in the morning right now in New York, in the hood, right? And my adrenaline is like racing through the roof. I'm on 10, 100,000, trillion, whatever. I'm lit right now. The reason why is not because I've been drinking. It's because I just finished watching WWE's Elimination Chamber for 2025, right? This is the final pay-per-view, or at least one of the final pay-per-views on the road to WrestleMania. Most people say the road to WrestleMania starts after the Royal Rumble, but for me, that's really only for the two people that win the Royal Rumble. Everybody else has to start, finding their way into even just a match at WrestleMania. So for the two people who win, they already set. They just got to take their time, pick who they want to face, go from there. Everybody else is like, I need something to do, bro. That's just what it is. So right now, Elimination Chamber helped us shape out two people who are going to be facing for a world championship at WrestleMania. And as you know, on Nerds in the Hood, I don't really do a lot of wrestling videos, even when I was doing the old reboot. Now I'm in a new reboot, basically. And I figured, you know what? Heck, why not do it? Now, for now, I'm keeping it slow. I'm just going to focus on pay-per-views. So I'm just focusing on this one, WrestleMania, pay-per-view after WrestleMania, stuff like that. I'm not really going to be like a lot of these other videos that are covering Raw and SmackDown and NXT and other companies like AEW and TNA and all that other stuff. That's not where I'm going with this. For now, I'm covering the pay-per-views because WWE is really the elite of the elite. It's the top one, and then the rest follow after. You know what I mean? So, with that being said, first off, let's just bring it this way. I'm going to bring my ratings meter down early so you can see how I'm going to be rating the match and the overall pay-per-view as a whole, right? So, excuse me. The ratings board is how Nerds in the Hood conducts their reviews. And I go by the slang that most people hear in the streets every day, which is valid, which means it's really good, it's fire, it's great stuff. Or it's alright, which means it's okay. And this ain't it, which means it was whack. So that's how we're going to do it. I'm going to talk about each one, and then we're going to give a final verdict, and then I'm going to go to sleep. So that should cover most of my adrenaline by the time I finish this video. Anyway. It was a good night. We had celebrity appearances. We had several matches, including 2 Elimination Chamber matches, one by the women, one by the men. So we might as well get it started with how the card started itself, which was the women's Elimination Chamber match. Now, this had 6 competitors. The competitors were Alexa Bliss, Roxanne Perez, Bianca Belair, Naomi, Liv Morgan, and Bayley. Okay? 5 of these women have won a WWE main roster world championship, and Roxanne Perez has won the NXT Women's Championship twice. Now, that makes for some good, compelling wrestling because you have 5 women who knows what it's like to be there, who knows what it's like to wrestle at WrestleMania, and 1 woman who is aspiring to get there. So that makes, once again, for compelling wrestling. And we had a lot of different things we were not expecting. Obviously, with Elimination Chamber, there's no disqualification. So anything goes. You only win by pinfall submission. And then you start eliminating people till there's 2 left, and then there's 1 winner. But the biggest surprise of the match was definitely the fact that Jade Cargill, who if you watch WWE, when it's not just pay-per-views, you would know that she was attacked by a mysterious assailant during an episode of SmackDown. She was just attacked. She was injured. She was put on the shelf for a few weeks, and she came back, and everybody thought it was Liv Morgan. Everybody thought it was her. They thought Jade Cargill was going to come in and pack her up, put hands on her, because she rightfully deserved it, to find out that she put hands on Naomi, which nobody saw coming because we all thought it was Bianca Belair. And it might still be Bianca Belair. We don't know yet. But what we do know is this plants the seeds for a possible match with either Bianca versus Jade, Jade versus Naomi. Maybe Jade finds her way into a world title match against Rhea and Bianca. Who knows? But what we do know is Jade is back and she is out looking for revenge. Sorry, folks. Had to sing a Drake song because Elimination Chamber was in Toronto, Canada. So it's only right. And he was actually there. So it's only right. Anyway. So with that being said, outside of the Jade Cargill interference, the rest of the match flowed smoothly. I was really happy to see Roxanne Perez because I've seen her at NXT. I really thought she was a dope wrestler. And it looks like her time is now to ascend to the main roster and start making a name for herself the same way a lot of other women from NXT have done so in the past, including Bayley, Charlotte Flair. Actually, if I'm right, I think all 5 of the women in that match were NXT people. So they came up just like she came up. So to see all of them come up and now to see her be the next generation, I was actually rooting for her to win. But Bianca Belair is the better choice because Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair is box office entertainment now because Bianca Belair is a bona fide star and so is Rhea Ripley. Roxanne will grow into that star someday, but it looks like just not now was her time. So I'm excited to see what's going to happen with Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair, assuming Rhea Ripley beats Io Sky for the title on Monday's Raw on Netflix. But I think I can safely say it's going to be Rhea versus Bianca. WrestleMania always tries to get the biggest cards they can. So I think getting these 2 big superstars in the women's division is going to make you want to sit and watch and not be on your phone or try to run to the bathroom. So this match to me, was valid. And the reason why, mainly due to the fact that Jade Cargill surprised us. We got some surprises for the night, but this was one of the bigger ones. So with Jade Cargill pulling up, it made it valid. Because if she didn't pull up, I think it would just be an all right match at best. But because she pulled up, we're going to change that and make it a valid match. It was valid. Next, that would be, if I'm right, the next match was Trish Stratus and Tiffany Stratton versus Nia Jax and Candice LeRae. Now, once again, this was more of a match where you see another NXT superstar come up, and it had 3 because NXT is really graduating their stars and using them as main roster attractions. Nia Jax was a former NXT superstar, Candice LeRae was also a former NXT superstar, and Tiffany Stratton was a former NXT Women's Champion who is now WWE Women's Champion. So, the only downfall is that they use Trish Stratus as just a attraction to say to Canadian fans, hey, we have one of Canada's finest wrestlers from WWE who's been in the game for 25 years, and this is an anniversary match for her. So a lot of people who are Canadian, if I'm especially from Toronto, and that's where she's from, I'm going to pull up and I'm going to go watch her because now I'm hyped because I'm like, this is full Canada right here. So, yeah, I'm going to say this match, I'm not going to hold y'all. It's always cool to see Trish Stratus. It really is. Tiffany Stratton is on the come up. Nia is already, you already know, she queen. She honed it down. And Candice LeRae is there. You know what I mean? She holding it down, but, you know, it is what it is. I ain't going to hold y'all. I'm going to say this match ain't it. This is the type of match that when you in the arena, you're going to try to run to the bathroom. This is the type of match when you're at your crib watching on Peacock, you're going to try to run to the bathroom. Because in your mind, you know that when you come back, no matter who won, you don't feel like you missed anything of vital importance. This was really just Tiffany Stratton just closing a chapter in her book with her and Nia Jax and Candice LeRae that she could now focus just primarily and lock in on Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania. So that's all we really got from that. I don't feel like we really got a lot of other stuff that makes you go, oh, this was crazy. Like there was one moment that was kind of funny where Tiffany Stratton was trying to go for her prettiest moonsault ever finisher, and Trish was in the way, and she just kind of kicked her out of the way. I don't think that was on purpose, but it just kind of happened in the flow of the moment, which I thought was funny. Also, normally I might show up a GIF or a little video you see on the screen. I'm not going to do that because I actually did that once about a year or two ago when CM Punk first came back at Survivor Series, and I played it as a reel. It got me a lot of views, and WWE randomly blocked it. They just was like, no. And mind you, I didn't rip it from like WWE's like Instagram or anything like that. I legit recorded it on my phone while I was watching TV. And they just was like, nah, you good, fam. So I don't want no smoke with WWE. I'm going to keep it to pictures at best. So anyway, I'm going to flow through that real quick and just say this match wasn't it. That was probably, to me, it wasn't that it was a trash match. It wasn't getting me in the mood to really be captivated to watch. Again, if you're Canadian, you love to see Trish Stratus, and that's all good. Shorty is 49 years old. She's still moving. But in the terms of things, where you got two elimination chambers, you got a Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn match that's going to be something, you're not really caring for this match too much. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't really care for it, so I'm going to say it wasn't it. Speaking of Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, that moves us to the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn unsanctioned match. Let me just make a quick gripe real quick. When you're a kid, you don't really care about the logic of WWE storylines. You just know that two people are going to fight and it's going to be a brawl, right? No matter what the story is, you're flowing with it. You're like, oh, snap, they're going to do that? That's crazy. Why would they do that? Oh, they betrayed him. When you're an adult, you start paying attention to things so much differently that you're like, why are we calling it an unsanctioned match? It's the same thing as a no holds barred match. It's the same thing as a no disqualification match. It's the same thing as a falls count anywhere match. It's the same thing as an extreme rules match. It's the same thing. It's just the same thing as so many other matches that fall under the same trope, which is basically two people enter. There is no disqualification. There is no ring outs. There is no count outs. There is nothing else going involved outside of you winning by pinfall or submission in the ring, in this case, outside of a falls count anywhere match. And you could go all over the stadium, which is what these two guys mostly did, and come right back to the ring and just end it from there. So it was cool to see them fight once again because they always do really good against each other. They have good chemistry. They're good team partners and stuff like that. And this is another one of those best friends turned rivals once again. Because mind you, 2 years ago, these guys was main events in WrestleMania, beating Jimmy and Jey Uso for the undisputed WWE Tag Team Championships. Now, 2 years later, they yelling in each other's faces and beating each other up. This was crazy. And Kevin Owens, once again, got the W, right? If I didn't tell you for the last match, it was Tiffany Stratton and Trish won. But for this match, it was Kevin Owens who won. And the big surprise here was that Randy Orton came back, who Kevin Orton beat up and got him injured. Now Randy Orton came back, and Orton was looking for revenge. And he RKO'd Kevin Owens. He RKO'd a bunch of security guards who got in his way, which always makes me laugh too, because it's like, you know, this guy can RKO you just like that, and you still try to press him. Fam, if I know that he can do that off the drop of a hat, I'm just going to be like, yo, bro, I'm going to ask him once, hey, bro, you think you can leave the ring? Oh, you're not trying? Oh, you gonna RKO my friend? All right, I'm gonna holler at you, bro. When you ready, I'm ready. And you just leave. That's it. You just wait for him to be done. I'm not trying to get RKO. I want to go home. I want to go home, hurt my neck. I want to go home, go to sleep, feeling healthy. So, in the storyline says I always laugh at that, but that's part of the gig. Anyway, these dudes was beating each other up. I ain't gonna lie. For a storytelling match, they always deliver. So for that reason and the fact that Randy Orton pulled up, it's borderline, but I'm going to say it was valid. It's borderline. Because I just feel like Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn have been fighting each other for years. They've been doing it at NXT and they've been doing it on the main roster. By now, it's like, how many more times are we going to keep going with this? A lot of spots were cool, like the fact that there was a barbed wire chair and the fact that they was like brawling in the stands and stuff, and people was getting hyped because, you know, they coming near you and stuff. But it's like, how many more times these two dudes are going to fight each other? That's how I started to feel. But I did like the match nonetheless. I thought it was cool. Again, no DQ matches are always fun because you can use a bunch of weapons. A lot of refs got hurt. Security got hurt. So they was brawling. They was brawling. That's what made it sit on that borderline valid. The only thing that's keeping it towards our right is the fact that it is a match I've seen them do before. They're just adding in new elements. So, I'm kind of torn between that. So let's just move on to the next match, which was the final competition of the evening before the final segment, which was the men's Elimination Chamber match, which featured the competitors of Logan Paul, Damian Priest, Seth Rollins, John Cena, CM Punk, and Drew McIntyre. Once again, just like the women's match, you got 5 dudes who were former world champions on the main roster, and you got one dude who was a U.S. champion, former U.S. champion, but he's not really that much of a veteran like the other people. So let's be real. We all knew Logan Paul was going to win. They just used his star power to make people want to watch. They really needed a credible heel that could take the fall a little bit somewhere in the middle of the match. Wasn't expecting Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre to get eliminated so early, but it made for great storytelling because now you can set up these seeds for matches for WrestleMania. We could get a Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre. Logan Paul could find his way in some match at some point in WrestleMania. I'm sure they're going to want him there. Now you have a CM Punk versus Seth Rollins match. Cena got his own match because he won the whole thing. So now he earned the right to face Cody Rhodes for the championship at WrestleMania as well, which I think most of us kind of saw happening and we also wanted. But this was a really solid match too. It was just the men going crazy. Just a lot of back and forth finishes flying. At one point, the light fixture broke in CM Punk's pod. Like, it just was showing you that they was going all out to do everything they can. There was a nice, warm moment where CM Punk and John Cena hugged in the middle of the ring. John Cena went for a handshake. CM Punk said, nah, bump all that, bro. It's bigger than that. And he hugged him. And that, to me, was really heartwarming because, like, 10, 15 years ago, we all remember, if you're a real wrestling person, you remember the epic pipe bomb promo where CM Punk said, I don't hate you, John. I just hate the fact, this idea that you're the best. So it was mutual respect. It just was looked at it from the CM Punk vantage of, like, everybody's thinking you better than me, but you're not. And that's how I'm going to prove to you. And over the years, CM Punk has gotten the better of him. We've seen again some one-ups too, but Punk was on it. So to see these two come back and be like, yo, we boys. Like, we going to fight for the title. We know the vibes. We boys. That was cool to me. Logan Paul, I'm not going to lie. Logan Paul is not a terrible wrestler. Obviously, he needs work. Nobody's perfect, but he's not a terrible wrestler. The one thing I say he needs to work on the most is probably his promos. He doesn't do a good job on promos yet, but he does have the potential to be a massive heel in the WWE. So, I mean, the sky's the limit. I don't hate anybody, but I'm not a big fan of his. But at the same time, I gotta give respect where it's due. Like, homie can hang. He can roll with the big dogs. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to him for that. At one point, also, I know I'm not gonna be able to get a picture of this because the way he wrote it is kind of transparent. But he wrote on his pod OVO, and then he wrote Humble, which, as you know, OVO is Drake's team, that's Drake's record label, whatever. And Humble is a Kendrick Lamar song. So it was kind of crazy that he did both of that. And he came out with the U.S. flag while he's in Canada, which got him major heat. Which, also, side note, Canada and the United States is really on one right now against each other. You know, with Trump trying to make Canada a 51st state, and they had the Four Nations hockey tournament with Canada beat USA. And we have Chelsea Green is the first woman to win the United States Championship for women in the WWE, and she's also Canadian. Drake and Kendrick Lamar beefing with each other. Like, so it's just so many different things. Earlier in the night of the Elimination Chamber, they sang the national anthem, the U.S. national anthem, and the crowd in Canada booed the person singing the national anthem. Not because it was the person who was singing it. They booed homie because for some weird reason, I guess they kind of felt like, oh, nah, like we're not doing this. So Canada is really on one right now. I understand why, but fam, it's getting real. So this was a valid match. Elimination Chambers most of the time are pretty cool. So I got to give it to him. Now we got Bianca Belair going for a WWE title at WrestleMania. We got John Cena going for a WWE title at WrestleMania. So it's going to be fun. And once again, we are at the final segment, which was Cody Rhodes, who had to answer a question that The Rock had for him. And that question was, can I take your soul? Are you willing to sell out to become the star of the WWE? What do you want to do? And The Rock came out with Travis Scott, which was interesting. Travis Scott is not Canadian. He's from Houston. But he came out anyway. And he came out to his song, Fiend. And The Rock walked out with him. They walked out. Travis Scott was given a hardcore championship, which he's never going to defend. Well, never say never, but I don't see him defending it anytime soon. He walked out, and Cody came out and did his thing. Cena stayed out there since he was going to challenge Cody Rhodes anyway. And The Rock wanted an answer. And Cody Rhodes said, I already gave my soul away to the ring, to the fans, to my family, everybody who roots for me, which is the true face answer of a babyface, right? And then he said, which I was surprised it didn't get bleeped or nothing, I guess because it's pay-per-view and it was live. He said, hey, Rock, go fuck yourself, which was like, whoa, usually I'm used to a bleep, and we didn't get a bleep. And I'm cool with that. That was very pre-attitude, like attitude era vibes, you know what I'm saying? But Cody Rhodes said that, and The Rock was like, heard you. All right, say less, my boy. And John Cena went to hug Cody Rhodes, and at that moment, it all changed. John Cena, this man for who about 2 decades basically, was basically a good guy. He hasn't been a bad guy since the early 2000s. My man turned into a bad guy, turned heel. He looked at The Rock. The Rock gave him the signal, said, pack him up and let's go home. And Cena packed him up, and Travis Scott just stood there, watched him get packed up. The Rock stood there, watched him get packed up, and then eventually started whipping him with a belt. With the belt that he told was very important to Cody because it had the day of his dad's death and stuff like that. And Cody just standing there getting beat down, and John Cena beat him down. And they packed him up to let him know that, yo, your road to WrestleMania ain't going to be like last year. We had the storybook ending and you beat Roman Reigns and took the title. No, sir. This year's going to be different. This year, you're losing that title because John Cena has sold his soul to The Rock. He sold his soul so he could be the best. And this is a great storyline when you think about it, because now you have a man who's on the final leg of his WWE story. His story is coming to an end, and he's willing to do anything to get the title and beat Ric Flair's record of having 16, 17 world title wins, right? He wants to beat that record, but he knows he have to go through mad matches to become number one contender. He knew he had to go to the Royal Rumble, and he lost that, which would have gave him an automatic line skip to face a world champion. Now you get Elimination Chamber, your last chance to face off and try to become number one contender to the other world championship that wasn't chosen by the Royal Rumble winner. And he got that. And once he got that, he sold his soul to The Rock, because The Rock is now not just a wrestler, he is one of the bosses of the TKO group, which owns WWE and UFC and stuff like that. So now you look at it this way, it's the same way as years ago when The Rock sold his soul to Vince McMahon and was the corporate champion. Or Steve Austin sold his soul to Vince McMahon to get a WWE championship. And now John Cena is doing the same thing to try and win a WWE title. And that, to me, is, again, chef's kiss storytelling by Triple H and the guys in creative. This segment was valid. Did we really need Travis Scott there? No. Did it hurt that he was there? Also no. So take with that what you will, people. But I feel like this was a good story to tell. This was a hell of an elimination chamber on a night when I wasn't expecting it to be that fire. But Triple H really has his foot on the gas, and he's not trying to slow down. When you have Raw on Netflix, the biggest streaming giant in the world, when you have WrestleMania coming up, the biggest pay-per-view event for wrestling in the world. And when you have all of these talented people, including now 2 Hollywood celebrities, not just wrestlers, 2 Hollywood celebrities, and The Rock and John Cena joining forces, which is something I don't think any of us would see, because remember, they always said years ago, once before, never again. And again, just like they did when they promised us a one-time match and gave us a rematch, never say never. So this was a valid segment. This was a valid pay-per-view. Yes, there was one match that didn't really go the way I would have cared or hoped, but I'm willing to look the other way on it. It was a valid pay-per-view. If you did not see this pay-per-view, please go watch it now. Once you finish watching this video, go to Peacock, check it out. I'm a wrestling fan, right? I'm not a hardcore wrestling fan, but I'm a core wrestling fan. But I really watch WWE more than anything else. I grew up watching WWE. I also did watch WCW. Once WCW died, before there was a TNA, I just kept watching WWE. The ECW died, kept watching WWE. Because it was the only place I could actually watch TV, wrestling on TV for free and 3 hours worth and not get in any trouble. Unless my mom walked in on the Divas matches, which thankfully she did not, I was okay. But Divas matches today are a lot tamer than they were back in the days. More about wrestling than it was bikinis and all that stuff. So with that being said, this was one of the better pay-per-views of 2025, even though there was only 2. I'm looking forward to WrestleMania now. This got me hyped for not just WrestleMania, but every show that comes in between WrestleMania. Because you never know when The Rock's going to show up. You never know when John Cena's going to show up. You want to see these guys come on. You want to see Jey Uso, who won the Royal Rumble. Tiffany Stratton, who's the champion. Charlotte Flair, who won the Royal Rumble. And Gunther, who's the champion. You want to see what Bianca Belair is going to do, but you also want to see what's going to happen with the Jade Cargill situation. You want to see who else is booking a ticket to even get just a regular match at WrestleMania. So you want to know how the card stacks up so you could be ready for that weekend, since it's a 2-day weekend. This is shaping up to be a fun WrestleMania, and I cannot wait. If you're a wrestling fan like me, you know the vibes. Favorite match of the night was definitely, I would have to say it was the men's Elimination Chamber, with a close second being the women's. I mean, that's what we came here for, right? And obviously, The Rock and Cena joining forces with Cena turning heel is the moment of the night, with Cargill being in second place. So if you have a favorite memory, not so favorite memory, you want to talk about it in the comments, link your boy in the comments. Let me know what's going on, how you felt about Elimination Chamber, how you feel about WrestleMania coming up. How you feel about anything, honestly, in that whole pay-per-view. Yeah, just write it in there. I mean, it was that real of a pay-per-view. I mean, even they're selling it even when they do those post-game conferences, which I don't really be watching like that. But I went online and saw that Cena didn't even say anything. He just picked up the mic, did a mic drop, and walked out, which is part of the gig. Was what you want him to be, a true dick, a heel. So write in the comments. Let me know how you feel. Follow me on social media with the link tree in the description below. And your boy's going to bed. I'm tapping out for the night. But Elimination Chamber was valid. Please check it out if you have not. Don't just go and watch the spoilers. Watch these matches. These performers put time and effort into it. So the least you can do is give them some time and effort to watch it. I will catch y'all later on this road to WrestleMania. Pretty much the next time you'll see me reviewing wrestling again will most likely be WrestleMania. But in the meantime, between time, watch everything else I review in terms of if you're an anime fan, TV show fan, of random TV shows, movies, whatever the case may be, check it out right here on the Nerds in the Hood. Holla at y'all boys later. Peace.